airport did not have ground radar at the time of the accident. When the KLM flight pulled up and parked next to the terminal building, initially Captain Van Santen and his crew wanted all of the passengers to stay on board. I'm guessing he probably was hoping that this was just going to be a very short ground delay and that they could depart towards Las Palmas almost immediately. But after about 20 minutes it became clear that this was not going to be the case, and he decided that the passengers could disembark, go into the terminal building, stretch their legs a little bit, maybe grab something at the bar, and he issued them with reboarding passes so that they quickly could get back onto the aircraft if they were told that Las Palmas had opened again. The Pan Am aircraft that came in a little bit later wanted to do the same thing, but were told that the terminal building was now completely full with all of the KLM passengers and that it wouldn't be good to mix the two. So the Pan Am crew decided to keep everyone on board, but they did ask for steps to be brought up towards the aircraft so that the passengers could go up onto the steps, stretch their legs a little bit, get some fresh air while they were waiting. The KLM passengers stayed inside of the terminal building for about 2 hours before they were reboarded. In the Pan Am cockpit, the crew tried to make the best out of the situation. Captain Grubbs made a PA telling all of the passengers that those who wanted could come in and visit the flight deck, and he was guiding them around, showing this marvelous aircraft. This is the Boeing 747 to them, and the spirit was quite good, even though they had been working for a long time at this point. In the KLM cockpit, though, the mood was very different, because Captain Van Santen and his first officer and flight engineer had started talking about the recent changes in Dutch flight time limitation legislation. Up until recently, before 1977, there had been quite lax rules regarding how long a pilot could work. But recently those rules had changed dramatically, and there was now very clear limits to how long you were allowed to operate. And if you as a captain went outside of these limitations, you would face a judge and potentially serve jail time. And this is what they were discussing, because they could clearly see that if the ground delay would become much longer, well, then they would have to go very quickly over towards Las Palmas, have minimum delay there in order to be able to return to Amsterdam and land within these limitations. This made the flight crew quite anxious. Right? They did not want to get stuck on Las Palmas. Captain Van Santen had his wife at home and his 2 children, and he said specifically that he was afraid that his wife was going to hear the news about the bomb in Las Palmas and become very, very worried if she knew that he was down there and he was overnighting there. So they were really looking into ways that they could minimize the delay as much as possible to get themselves back towards Amsterdam. And this is where Captain Van Santen takes a decision that's going to have very dire consequences. Because he decides that if he's going to be sitting on the ground here, he might as well be uploading as much fuel as he needs to fly over to Las Palmas and to fly back to Amsterdam. That way he's going to minimize the time on the ground in Las Palmas. This is a very sound decision. This is something I completely understand myself, because if you're stuck there, why not utilize the time to upload the fuel? But once you start the fueling of a 747, it's a fairly big operation. It's not something that you want to stop. So he was kind of gambling on that this delay was going to take another hour or so for them to be able to complete their fueling process. And crucially, this fueling process was also going to make his jet about 15% more heavy. That would mean that he would need a higher speed in order to take off later on, and also a longer takeoff distance. Only minutes
now you
after.
know, man. Fucking too long.
Level.